Welcome to our LinkedIn Live today with Tim Hammonds. We'll talk about the
Hello.
power of visual facilitation. Hey, hello, Tim.
Hello, hi.
Thank you for joining. How are you doing?
I'm great.
Yeah, how was
Yeah,
your morning? Welcome to our LinkedIn Live today with Tim Hammonds. We are live. It seems everything working. We'll talk about the power of facilitation. Hey. All right. So now I have switched off the double audio. Yeah, so I just had a nice morning walk here in Japan. It's very sunny. How was your morning?
yeah. I sent my son to school early, and then I also take a walk around the reservoir that's just next, almost beside his school. That's our morning ritual
Oh,
uh,
nice.
to wake up and connect and sort of get grounded.
Yeah,
Yeah, good way to start the day. Bit of fresh air, bit of
absolutely.
exercise. Sometimes do swim as well.
Yeah, oh, nice, nice. So you're based in Singapore, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, of
So
course. Yeah,
I met you I think through our friend Hide. He made a visual facilitation workshop with you together in Tokyo. Joined it, and it was amazing experience. Um, I mean, I had already experience with visual facilitation, graphic recording a little bit, but this leveled me up. I would say 300%. Was so amazing to learn all this, tools for creating, for example, like journey maps. This was a big takeaway.
yeah,
So yeah, maybe I start a little bit talking about how I came to this. Visual facilitation because like maybe many others too, I didn't draw for 20 years during my childhood, but then I forgot it. Didn't use this skill anymore, and then it got lost a little bit. But then I joined a Management 3.0 workshop by Ilka Demirel in Berlin, and he used through the 2 days the whole workshop only flip charts and visuals,
mm,
and it was so engaging and it was so great. And yeah, uh, that I just wanted to do the same way. So I went back to Japan, learned a little bit through YouTube, and then my first workshop, I was really nervous, so I used like like templates, and I used I planned where I draw what and things like that, and
yeah,
but it worked, and little by little, I became better and better, and then yeah, and then joined your workshop, and then learned about how the templates and how to create better visuals, and yeah, this for example is one template I use, a journey map. I think that's a great thing, and you can prepare this beforehand, so you don't have to do it live, which takes a lot away from the pressure. And still, you have an engaging thing where you can point at and say, okay, we are here at the moment. And sometimes I use even a sticky where I draw people and then walking down the path so everybody knows where we are. So I think
yeah.
that's a really great way to engage people, and yeah, people really like it instead of just a PowerPoint. So.
Absolutely, yeah.
How about your journey? How did you came to
Oh,
become a graphic recorder, graphic facilitator?
hmm. Well, just one thing about what you shared about your journey and the journey map, right? And
Mm,
how you use it and how people respond to it and how it's helped you, right? I mean, our brains are hardwired for pictures and stories, right? When you tell a story, people put down their phone, they lean in, they pay attention
exactly.
because there's an emotional connection. People are imagining themselves in that story and how what would I do, right? So it's relevant to them. It becomes personal. Your best tool perhaps as a facilitator is story, and then linking that into your process design and how you want to connect and engage and move a group forward. But when you use a visual, it's the tangible artifact of that story. A story
Mm,
just stays in our hearts and our memories. But when you make a visual like a map you've got, then people can talk about that story and share it. and it creates a sense of shared ownership. This is our story now. This is our journey. This is our, our path towards becoming a more innovative team, or becoming a culture that is more open, and a learning organization, and whatever the things that you're there to help them and support them in. So um, that's so where I come in is my background is in visual communication, graphic design. So I was designing logos for companies, big companies, as an intern in San Francisco, and then in London, with a company called Landor Associates. And what I loved about that work is you're taking so much ideas, so many stories and visual elements that represent equity in an organization, represent values, and then you're working with it to tell a unique story through that one image, right? But what I really enjoyed more than creating the output was the process, and the process was always thinking and drawing, right? Thinking and drawing and sketching and working out the story behind it, and the story is what, as I mentioned, that's what is valuable in these contexts in a room, working through a change process or some kind of a transformational event or culture. The process and the story and visualizing helps to do that. But so, that's my background was visualizing, for corporate design and corporate communications, and I was also sketching in every making sketch notes in every mind maps in every meeting, business meeting or personal development, event I would go to, and people say, "Hey, can I have a copy of that? That looks great." And I asked the organizers, we were at an event where it was a marketing event, and the trainer was sort of boastfully challenging people to create a product and go and put it out on the market, get money before you
Mm,
even have a product yet. And I was sitting with a friend. We were, presenting workshops, enrichment, creativity and innovation workshops to students. And she said, "Hey, why don't you sell your mind maps?" So we went and spoke to the organizers, and we did that. We sold the visual mind maps during a break. And those those are crowds of people coming around saying, "Wow, we want this," and handing us money. And I thought, wow, okay, this is a good indication of the value. I mean, this is different than facilitation. This is the sketchnoting and the visual storytelling, but this is a good indication of the value that people see in this in terms of a learning artifact, right?
mm,
They're there at the event, they're hearing the conversations. This creates a great learning artifact to anchor that memory, anchor the stories. And so that's kind of what brought me into this. And then working at conferences, scribing, doing the graphic recording, but then also, I was doing a lot of teaching, a lot of creativity workshops, and facilitating team building workshops. So those kind of came together, right,
mm,
in different ways, in different paths to lead into more facilitation and team coaching and facilitating, strategy and sales conversations, and using the visuals as a tool for the learning, as a tool for anchoring the process and moving the groups forward. So I have the kind of those two paths, right? The creative path and then
mm.
the learning and facilitation path.
Yeah, I have the same experience. So when I do the workshop and then the workshop is over, so I say, okay, somebody wants to take them home or take them to the office, the visuals. And they, yeah,
Yeah.
really? Wow, amazing. And then I take them, and then sometimes I visit them and see the posters in the office, and
Yeah.
yeah, and so everything is digital nowadays. So a lot of things are digital nowadays. But these you can t really take into the office and then show your colleagues. Yeah, they get curious. Oh, what is that? And then you can talk about it. Okay, this is management 3.0. Oh, blah blah blah. And
Yeah.
yeah, and in management 3.0 we have the complexity guidelines, and the first one is deal complexity with complexity. So when you have a complex problem, use a complex approach. And visuals, like you said, is a storytelling, and storytelling
Yeah.
is a complex approach actually. And our brains are complex adaptive systems. So uh, when you only use words, people are, what do you mean? But when you start drawing, and then, okay, then it becomes clearer, and then
Yeah.
maybe the other person can even add something, and then that way the issue or becomes much more clearer, and you have this aha moments. Okay, that's what you mean. Okay, then now I understand. And yeah, that's I think it's really the power of visual facilitation,
Yeah.
and I totally love it. Yeah,
Yeah. 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 Those are important points you mentioned. So people own what they have their hands on.
exactly.
They have stake in, right?
Yeah.
It's sometimes known as the IKEA effect. You build something and you
Mm,
value it much more. You build that cabinet. All right. It's more meaningful to you. So in the same way, if you give people a meaningful task, what's your story of leadership? What's a model of
mm,
leadership? Draw a picture, draw a character of leadership. What do they feel? What do they think? What do they say? What do they do? What's going on in their environment? Are they leading the way? Are people
mm,
beside them? Are they in front, behind? There's different kind of leadership models that we could relate to, and those are good ways to, access and express some of those differences because it harvests a richer picture, a richer story about leadership, and then we can it opens up a better, more inclusive conversation about what kind of style, brand of leadership that we want to create for our team, our organization, for this group of leaders now, given the context and what's going on in our environment, business environment, the world, and so on. So the story and the visuals help to access so much more ideas and stories and capacities, right? And it also connects us and bonds us. When we create a picture together and then we share something about that, about ourselves or what our values, people say, wow, I feel closer to this group than perhaps anyone else other than my own family, right? Because there's a vulnerability there because stories access that, that they give space to a deeper level of sharing and communication and connection, right?
yeah, yeah. So I'll use management 3.0. We have a tool called personal maps. So that means I use it always as an icebreaker, but it's also a great team building exercise. So it's basically a mind map about yourself, and
Hmm.
then you bring it to the workshop or to the meeting, and then instead of presenting it, you ask questions to each other. And it's really interesting because the style of the personal maps is very different. Some, of course, use computer, that's totally fine, just a normal mind map with characters, but some really draw and make characters and stuff like that. And this tells a lot of about the person also, how the person creates
Yeah,
the person. Is it a more logical person? Is it more like a left brain person, more creative person? And um, the ones who use visuals are always like, wow, everybody's like, wow, wow, that's cool. Wow, wow. I didn't know that you can draw so beautiful. And it's anyway, it's not about the beautiful. Even if you can make a stickman, like you always say, you can draw, it doesn't matter. Because the visuals are universal. It's a universal language, right?
that's
Metaphor,
right.
when you use it in your leadership meeting, like you need to overcome a barrier for something, then you just you draw a river, and on the one side people who are maybe a little bit confused faces, and then okay, how we build the bridge, what we need to do that, and then you can use this as a brainstorming tool, and like you said, it's a storytelling tool, and you will remember that. So in the next meeting, follow-up meeting, you bring this visual again, and then everybody remembers, ah, okay, we're talking about how we overcome these issues, and we brainstormed this actions, this like a gap analysis basically, and
Yes,
it's easy to remember and easy to follow up, and yeah, our brains think in visuals, not in words, right?
yes, yeah. So I mean, one of the most often used, visual templates and frameworks, which you just suggested,
Yeah,
right, is the journey map. Where are we
yeah,
now? What's the current state, right? Where do we want to go? Our future desired state. What are the gaps? How do we
yeah,
get there?
yeah.
Right? But that's essentially three conversations, right? Current
Mm,
state, we know what that is. And leaders, are very familiar with all this, right? Where do we want to go? They have a very
mm,
clear direction. That's part of leadership capacity is the vision of the future. How do we get there is the tricky bit. But when
mm,
you can have those first two conversations, it helps to build the tension
mm,
in that, which then becomes a way to accelerate and clarify that way forward. It makes sense now, given the tension between those two. So, you can map this in a conversation with, in a leadership conversation, in a strategy conversation, in an HR or a team transformational context, in a coaching context. There's so many different applications for a simple visual tool like this model of this future vision kind of modeling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's universal. Like
Yeah.
it works in every language, even if you have language barriers, everybody understands that this is like idea or something, or this is something to overcome, or basically this is between day one and day two,
A
and
challenge. Yeah.
or this is like it means something related to heart, some motivation or something. So that's also the power of it, especially if you work with international teams nowadays. And yeah, yeah.
Your tree over there is a great symbol of growth, right?
This one. Yes,
Yeah, the
yes, yes,
tree. And I
yes,
love
yes.
your little bean person sort of dancing or celebrating as a representation of values and culture, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Because
Yeah,
um, so this metaphor is from the Management 3.0 slides because they also use a lot of visuals,
that's
graphical,
right.
and yeah, I mean culture is something which grows, right? It's like a garden. We also say leaders are gardeners or managers are gardeners.
Yes.
Have take care of the organization, which is like a garden. So you put water, you take out the things you don't like, and so you build a beautiful garden so it grows. I think that's why it's tree is a great metaphor for that. Yeah. That's
Here's a
nice.
garden metaphor.
Right. Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
happen to have it here on hand as you're mentioning it.
Nice. We
The
didn't
different
plan that.
capacities, what does the garden represent, an ecosystem,
Yeah,
the tools you use, the care and attention that you bring, um,
exactly.
in different things.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
and the organization is an ecosystem which you have to take care of. And yeah, and we say is are the espoused values are also the lived values. So do we only talk that or do we really live it? And so that's kind of the idea behind that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So here's a tip for anyone, who
Yeah,
does
what kind of tips you have
facilitation.
for how to start? How to
Well, I mean, just building on what you're sharing about, the images, right? And how you use it in that management 3.0 context, the journey, the images, what they represent, how people can engage with it, connect with it, is when you're in a conversation with a client, you're scoping the project. What's the challenge? What's going on in the organization? You're speaking with the key stakeholders about an upcoming event that you might be facilitating or training or some kind of consulting, kind of context. What's just having a conversation. And while you're having that conversation, I bring my marker and my clipboard and I'm just making a picture, right? What's that current state? you know, making clear notes, adding some simple icons about what you hear, what do we want to achieve in the future, and then you can start to talk about the how. But listen for the metaphors, right?
Hmm,
You just mentioned, a couple of metaphors that say it's like, leadership is like a garden, right?
hmm,
What is a metaphor that they might use, right? You often hear metaphors of the iceberg, right? Which talks
hmm,
about mindset or mental models or values, behavior is what you see, and the values and the belief systems is what's below the surface. And so listen for that and sketch that because
hmm,
that's taking something that they've given you and then you're adding their story to it, their words, their challenges, what they want to move away from, and it begins to create meaning in that context, right? And that's a great selling tool, frankly. But you can also bring those kind of metaphors into your design that in as part of your training as a reflective activity or part of the context setting, about what we're going to do today. Or you can use it as a group harvesting activity. What's our where are we in this model that we're drawing and we're sharing? Bring it large into a room like this one, and get people to engage and interact with that, contribute to that, give them a post-it and so on to add their, what do they resonate in here? What makes sense to them? What are they curious about? And how does this talk about where we want to go as a team, given at this event that we're in? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I use mind mapping since my high school times, and so what I just do when I so I'll do usually when I have a client meeting, do mind mapping, and first I write the words, but if
Yeah.
if possible, I add some icon to it. Just it helps me to also grasp it quicker because um, reading a word takes longer than processing and visual. Like I said before, we think in visuals. That's why, for example, Japanese characters are pictures itself, actually, the kanjis. Uh,
Yes.
so that's why, I mean, of course, you have to learn at least 2,000. It's, I don't know so many, but for example, if Japanese scan a text, they are much faster than English speaker because they just look at the kanjis very quickly. They not the whole text, just like scanning it. So very
Yes.
quickly because every kanji is a picture itself, and they have so-called radicals. So, for example, there's a radical water, and if it's this kanji is related to water, then this has something to do with water. Even if you don't know the kanji, but this little radical is inside there. So.
Yes.
Um, so that's yeah, that's why it's adds a lot of value if you even in your own notes put icons. And I still remember your tip. Yeah, when you go to a conference or whatever, and you hear a talk, just doodle for
Yeah.
yourself the talk. Make a graphic recording just for yourself. For yourself, no pressure. If you make a failure, it doesn't matter because it's not for a client or for somebody else. It's for you, and that way you build your graphical muscle.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so many people have shared with us when they do just that, right? When
Mm,
we invite them and put a marker in their hands in one of our workshops or in our, in the facilitation events. Yesterday, the last 2 days, Wednesday and Thursday, we were the group of a leadership team in
mm,
a um, food industry, right? And they partner, they deal with partnerships, right? Their food and seasonings are with many different partners. And so they're talking about, you know, building a customer-centric culture and processes. And some of the people came and said, wow, this is just magic, right? I've never seen this, we're in these meetings all the time, but it just transforms this whole meeting into a space of joy and a space of magic. But when
mm.
you, in those kind of events, when you give people an activity, put a marker in their hands and get them drawing something, then it helps clarify it, in the context of a group of leaders, or it could be in a group of managers or whatever your group you're working with, communications, legal people, right? Financial teams, commercial teams, get them drawing something about what's the outcome that we're looking for, what's the challenge that we're working on. It just helps to open up broader conversations. Yeah. And it also, on a personal level, it reframes their relationship with their creativity. So many people, right, said as a kid, I loved drawing as a kid, but then along the way, no, I just put it aside because, my teachers told me that my drawings were not good enough or something. Or, as you get more mature, you're more critical of yourself. And so you put those things away and you focus on, you want to fit in and you want to not make mistakes. So you know, drawing is prone to lots of mistakes because it's an iterative tool, right? And people are more engaged by something that is iterative, by the way, than something that is complete. But you put those tools away and you focus on like clip art or PowerPoint, right? But then when you give people a marker, get them working on something, they feel, wow, I've never felt this much creativity since I was a kid. So there's that kind of personal transformational opportunity as well when you bring these tools into your room.
Yeah, absolutely,
That's what I
absolutely.
love, frankly. Seeing their eyes light up, seeing that curiosity, that sense of new possibility, that sense of confidence in storytelling and creativity. Because when you watch kids, if you watch kids drawing, they're not worried about what it looks like.
Mm.
They're not worried about the result or the product, let's say, but they're fully engaged in the process. It's their way of understanding their world. I have a 9-year-old son, and we're surrounded by visuals in our office here, our home office, and we give him large sheets of paper and markers, and he's drawing, and then he would end up drawing off of the paper and onto the our tiled floor with with whiteboard easily erasable markers, but he would fill up that place, and it's his way of understanding his world and making sense of it. And so we learn to draw before we learn to speak and write. So those are our core languages. Drawing and music are our core languages. We return back to that. We're familiar with that. There's energy, and there's a renewed sense of creativity that comes in that.
Yeah, absolutely,
So you can
absolutely.
bring this into your room, right? These are things, these opportunities when you bring tools in a meaningful way into a facilitation event, into a learning event, whatever is the context, whatever is the audience, you just do it appropriately, right? You add a little bit of story, you model the way by doing something as a facilitator, add some kind of live image into the room that says, hey, here's our slides with all the context. People are expecting that. And then you go to a flip chart and you make a simple drawing and say, let's look at what this means for us now. And you've thought about an image that you might use. We mentioned metaphors, or a garden, or a mountain, or an iceberg, or something, depending on what they're doing. And let's talk about this now. And you capture their words and their images in line with that metaphor and in line with the whole context of the meaning. And people slowly say, oh, I see the power of this, right? Or journey map and different things. So there's ways you can bring that into your room to by modeling the way, helps people see the power of this and overcome their resistance, right? There can be a lot of people that might have some resistance to this as well.
Yeah, yeah. So we almost yeah, over time. I like to make a little experiment.
We're doing a workshop. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Uzumo.
So Usmo. So you can draw with these four letters. You can draw a light bulb.
Yes.
We will reveal the result or the how to draw it in the comments later. But try it yourself. By only using these four letters, each letter only once, you can draw a light bulb. Such easy is visual facilitation.
There's the
So
O.
try it out. Take a pen, take take a paper, and use U, Z, M, O, and then you can draw a light bulb. Basically like that. Try it out, and
That's light bulb.
maybe you can
My
figure it
light bulb.
out. We will release the secret in the comments after this.
I love that, Stefan. And we have a workshop coming up in Japan, right?
Oh yes, we have a
Workshops.
workshop coming up in April 18, 19 here in Tokyo. Please join us and learn how you can enrich your workshops and meetings through
Yes.
visual facilitation. And not only in Tokyo, but also in Singapore, right?
Absolutely, yeah. We're based in Singapore. We run the
Yeah.
Visual Facilitation Lab since 2015.
Mm.
Over 500 participants, in person mostly, also virtually as well. Um, 2-day workshop on visual thinking foundations and impactful facilitation practices. Yeah,
Awesome.
and lots of fun and transformation.
Absolutely. So as I said, I joined, and I mean the power of workshops, I think, is really also, of course, that you learn about it, but also the peer learning from each other. So usually the
Yeah,
already people with experience, some with no experience, but you can also learn from each other. You walk around the room and then you see, wow, this person thought like this way. That gives you new inputs and new learnings as well.
that's right.
So totally looking forward to seeing you here in Tokyo. All right. Yeah, so thank you very much, Tim, for joining today. And
Pleasure.
yeah, I think we did a little bit of impact for bringing more visuals to meetings rooms. If it's only one person, then it's already a great success.
Yes.
All right.
Thank
Good.
you.
Thank you very much. And yeah,
See you again
see you in
for our
Japan.
visual lab
Yeah.
in April. Yes.
All
And
right.
join us also. We have our 1 hour, our 90-minute introduction session, right? March
Ah,
5th.
yes, on March 5th.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Bye, everybody. Thank you for
Thank
joining.
you. See you again.
See you in Japan.
Visual.
Yeah.